Hello, everybody, and welcome to another special edition of the Team Venom Wrestling Podcast. This week's episode is going to be a special From the Vault episode featuring an exclusive interview with Bobby Lashley. Now, this is from 2015, January 2015 to be precise, and it was just before the Maximum Impact tour. Myself and my cousin Mitchell went and did the interview with Bobby, and a few days later we were sat ringside for the TNA Impact tapings and got to watch Bobby Lashley take on Kurt Angle and MVP as part of those tapings. The tapings themselves were awesome. Annoyingly, we left due to train times and we'd missed Drew McIntyre coming from the crowd, and where he came from was the row behind where we were sat. So when you see that debut on TNA, well, not the debut, I think it's the second time he's appeared for TNA, he comes from a gap in the crowd and there's a row of like 3 empty seats, and that was where me, my cousin, and our friend Dave were there for that, which was pretty cool. But anyway, I digress. This interview was awesome. It was one of my all-time favourite things that I've done. One of the biggest highlights of Team Venom media for me was this interview with Lashley. He was incredibly nice, talked about his career, his aspirations, and Brock Lesnar before Lashley and Lesnar were able to face off in WWE. So yeah, it was really good. Anyway, I've waffled enough. Let's get into it.
Thank you for having us, Bobby. It's a genuine pleasure.
Always.
Firstly, as someone who always seemed poised to be a big-time player in the WWE, but didn't seem to be being pushed enough, how does it feel to be in TNA where they're recognising you for what you should be, which is a World Heavyweight Champion?
It's a good thing. I believe when you get into it, you have to prove yourself once, and then it's all about timing also. I think there's a lot of people that have the ability to be on the top, but timing is not always there for them. And I think this time with TNA, I think the timing was there, and I think it was kind of a blessing for them to give me an opportunity to do this. And since then, it's like they give you the ball and see if you can run with it. I think that I ran with it really well, so I'm excited about it.
Okay. You've held the WWE US Championship, the WWE CW Championship twice, and are currently the TNA World Heavyweight Champion for the second time. Which title victory has meant the most to you, and why?
I think this current one, and the only reason why is because you can't compare. It's like apples and oranges when you go across the board. Of course, when the United States title was great, ECW title was great, but the one thing I like about this one is when I was in WWE, I knew how to wrestle. I didn't understand how to wrestle. After I got out of WWE, I spent some time in the independents and I wrestled for a while, honed my game a little bit. I came back. There was still kind of like a little bit of unsure as far as my abilities. Left to some more independence. I came back this time. Now, I think that I'm a complete wrestler this time. I've had some great matches from Jeff Hardy, Austin Aries, Eric Young, the matches I've had with Bobby Roode. I think everything's been coming across just amazing. And I think I took a crowd that did not want me to be the title holder and made them believe in me. Because, of course, going to TNA from WWE, they hate to say it. Like, oh, well, there's another WWE guy over TNA. And they're just using WWE guys. And that wasn't the case here. Because they wanted to dislike me, but I've been giving them every reason why they should like me.
Okay, to touch upon that, obviously since winning your first world title with TNA, you've been for guys like you say, like Eric Young, Jeff Hardy, Austin Aries. Is there anyone left on the TNA roster that you'd love to defend the title against?
Kurt Angle.
No real explanation even for that one.
I've talked this story many times, and I'm just going to keep putting it out there until it's like begged to happen, and I hope that it doesn't just happen and just get thrown away. When I was in high school, I had this, that's back in the day when we still had VCR tapes. I don't know how old you guys are, but this is when we saw the tape. And I used to watch this tape that I recorded for the NCAA championships, and they did a whole story of this heavyweight match, and the story was on Sylvester Turkey. Sylvester Turkey was wrestling Kurt Angle for the NCAA championships. The whole story leading up to the match was about Sylvester Turkey. So Kurt was basically supposed to be coming in as a jobber, but Kurt was like one of the top guys in there, but they brought this guy from overseas, and this guy was like running through everybody, and he was supposed to be Kurt. Kurt beat him. I watched that all the time. It was a phenomenal match. After that, I won state. That's when I won state and he won nationals. After that, I went to college. I won 3 national championships when I was in college. He went on to the Olympic Training Center and won the Olympic gold medal. I followed him there afterwards. when I was at the Olympic Training Center, he was in WWE. He came back to do a vignette and talk, and so they were filming as he was running around doing different stuff. So there was like little stuff where I was in the background in this vignette. Afterwards, Kurt came to me and he was like, "Hey man, you should think about wrestling, man. You got a great look, great build. Have you ever thought about it before?" And I was like, well, right now I'm in the process of trying to make it to the Olympic Championship. So right now I can't say yes, more no right now, but I would love to. I'm a huge fan. I've always been a huge fan. He said, well, let me get you in touch with the right people and see if you can get there. Make a long story short, things happen. I end up leaving the Olympic Training Center, going to WWE. There for a year, Kurt left to TNA. After that, I left. I go to TNA. So our careers kind of follow each other all the way around. And this entire time, me and Kurt never touched. Never done anything together. And I think Kurt's probably one of the best people in the wrestling business across the board, and I've never done anything with him. So I think I'm just chopping at the bits for the opportunity to be able to wrestle against Kurt Angle. Hopefully the title's on the line so that we can really do something big, or some kind of storyline where I go after Kurt and kind of bring him back. Because, of course, that whole motto, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And in my eyes, there's nobody bigger than Kurt in this business. But what I have to get is Kurt back to the Kurt Angle that he was when he was the biggest thing in wrestling, when he was the biggest thing in pro wrestling and in amateur wrestling. So that's the person I want to beat.
Mitch, do you want to do a couple?
Yeah. Obviously, you obviously just covered Kurt Angle, so I don't really need to answer this one, because obviously it's just what inspired you to be a pro wrestler.
Yeah. When you say it.
Obviously.
But you know what? I loved it when I was little. I believed the claw was real. You know, there was just so much stuff. But it's kind of one of those things where I loved movies when I was little, but I never saw myself as being a movie star. Same thing with pro wrestling. I just loved it. Not until Kurt actually linked me up with the right people when I was all the way in my 20s in the Olympic Training Center did I actually think that it was an actual opportunity. So, if anything, Kurt was the one that kind of led me into it.
So, how did you find it? I can't even read your writing.
Sorry. Do you want me to do this?
Yeah.
Okay. How did it feel to be in the main event of TNA's first show on Destination America? The company obviously thinks highly of you. If they wanted to usher in this new era with yourself versus Bobby Roode as the main event.
Yeah, well, I thought it was definitely them giving me the ball again. You know, at the beginning when they gave me the title, it wasn't written in the plans. I don't think there was nowhere in the plans that I was supposed to get it that early. I mean, I wasn't even supposed to be on the roster. I was actually, when I got called, I was supposed to be going on a tour to Qatar, and I was supposed to leave there on a Thursday, and when I had my bags packed and everything, I'm waiting. I get a call from the promoter saying the trip got canceled. I had the weekend clear, and I was like, man, I don't have anything to do. This, I was a little upset with the promoter because we were supposed to do 3 shots. So it was like a 3-day payday and everything. So I was like, all right, what do I do now? So I just kind of dropped off the side. The next morning, I get a call from Big, the writer for TNA, the head writer for TNA. He was like, hey, Kurt Angle hurt his knee and he can't wrestle. He said, what are you doing Sunday? And I was like, well, it looks like I'm coming to TNA Sunday. So they had me come, and I did this spot with EC3. And then after that, it was like, we're just bringing you here for this. However, when I came out, the crowd was like, thank you, Dixie, thank you. So I got a really good response. They said, well, maybe we should look at doing something with you. So they actually put me on a 1-year deal. They said, we're going to give you a 1-year deal. And they didn't think anything of it. They were like, well, we'll just bring you in for a year and kind of use you a little bit, see what's going on. A couple weeks later, they were like, man, things are going really well. The ratings look good when you're coming out. Put you the title shot. Then I had the title. And then after I had the title, they were like, oh, let's see how good he can do now. Because they were still kind of thinking of the old Bobby where it was like I was basically shoulder tackle and body slam. Big guy, put my fingers up in the air. But I spent so many years in the independence at that time, kind of really on my own. I was taking bookings. There was some shows that I did for nothing because I just wanted to go out there and hone my skills and get better. Came back and I just started having these great matches with people from Jeff Hardy to Eric Young and everything like that. So they're like, wow, this guy's really doing it. So now I went there. So at that point they were like, well, here's the title. You're our champion. Let's run with it. Let's see what happens. So the Destination America thing, I think it was right in line with everything that was going.
Congratulations again for winning that main event as well.
So what's been your favourite experience in wrestling so far?
Wow. in wrestling as a whole, the whole entire business.
Yeah.
Wow.
Including your amateur days and everything.
What stuck out that? What was that one thing that stuck out the most?
There's not just one thing. There couldn't be one thing.
Listen.
That would take me some soul searching. I mean, the Battle of the Billionaires was that.
Yeah.
That's 85,000 people in Fort Field, main event of WrestleMania. That's huge. My first national championships in college, amazing. Being in stage at the World Championships, and I think it was like in 2002, winning a silver medal there. This run of winning the TNA title, not just having the title, but being able to prove myself to a crowd. 'Cause you know how it is. They hate in TNA. They do not want the TNA champion to be an ex-WWE guy. They don't want it. They want to shit on me any chance they can. And I took the crowd from not wanting it to happen to being okay with it to like I'm having people say, "Man, this is the best run Bobby's had in wrestling." So it's my the thing about I like about the TNA title is that I was able to prove to some of the people that didn't want me to do well that I can do well.
This week you'll be over here in the UK for TNA's Maximum Impact 7. What can the UK fans expect to see from the champ?
There's a lot of vengeance. You know, they always say don't base your life off vengeance, but man, I got beat up a lot the last few shows, and I got this whole little goon squad that I have to go after. So they're gonna see matches with MVP. I don't know, the whole low key. I said Samoa Joe, Kenny King. I'm going after that whole group, so I think it's gonna be very exciting to see how I go about getting some revenge on this whole little clique.
You spent the better part of the last year associated with the clique that you just mentioned, with MVP, who was another guy who should have been a main eventer in WWE. You now find yourselves on the opposite side of the ring. What can we expect to see between the pair of you?
I think it's going to be a really hype match. If they do it right, I think it's going to be a really hype match. One, because, and I've said this before, I think right now across the wrestling business, I don't think anybody's better on the mic than MVP. You give him the mic, the guy can go. Nobody's writing a script for him. Nobody's telling him what to say. He's doing it on his own. And I think he's really good at that. So I think he's going to be able to build the match. But then at the end of the day, after the match is built, I'm going to take the microphone, I'm going to shove it down his throat, and I'm going to beat his ass. Because that's what everybody wants to see, and that's what's going to happen.
Who do you see has the future in TNA? Who's the next person to step up?
I'm going to say this again. I think Gunner.
Yeah.
I think Gunner's like the silent majority right now. I know the reason why that Gunner's not the top guy right now. I think it's basically because his star is not shining bright enough, and not too many people know so much about him. But I think with a little bit of like working on his character a little bit, bringing it out to the crowd a little bit. Because if you watch his matches, he has good matches. Everybody, if they have an opportunity to wrestle Gunner, they're like, yes, he's good. And he's intense, he's believable, he's real, and he has a good little story behind him. So I think if you put him in the right mix, in the right category, I think he can really do some big things. But then again, there's also some guys out there that are really good. I don't want to say like who's the next breakout star by naming some names like Eric Young or Bob Roode or anything like that, because those guys aren't young. Those guys aren't like new guys that are stepping up. They've already been there, done that. But I like the Jesse guy, like from Bromance. I think Jesse. I think he's having some really good stuff. I think he's really doing some big things. I think some of the guys that are bringing in from the UK, from that British invasion. I think one of those guys are going to pretty much step up. They have to step up. We're looking for new faces, looking for new names. I think one of those guys might open the door and have the opportunity to do something big here. So.
Okay. Outside of wrestling, you built quite an impressive record in MMA, which is obviously 12-2, as well as winning the world titles in both Shark Fights and Extreme Fight Night. How do you manage to balance between pro wrestling and MMA?
Something's got to give, and the only thing that's been able that I had to pull out of my whole series is kind of my sleeping. I don't sleep that much. I train like crazy, and I mean my life is challenging in itself. I have 3 kids. I'm a single father, so I go from kids to training in the morning. Like I try to train before they wake up, then get them up. Got to get them ready for school. I have a 3-year-old, 6-year-old, and 10-year-old, so they're little ones. Get them ready for school. Then after that, I go train again, pick them up from school, spend some time with them, put them to sleep, and then train again at night. That's my life. So with my life being that complicated, there's no real social time. There's no real there's no real me time, and there's no real sleep time. But right now in my life, I have a lot of goals that I need to accomplish, and there's a lot of things that I want to do before I retire and set it all down. So I just have to keep going.
Okay. One of the things that we've been doing for our magazine and for our Twitter things is we ask the readers if there's any questions they'd like to know the answers to from some of our upcoming interviews. And our competition winner was Jordan from Super Shakes in Burton, and he wants to know, how do you manage to maintain such an impressive physique, which obviously you've just touched upon, but this question.
You know what? As far as like training, what I try to tell people is like, I can't write a formula for you. I can't write a formula for anyone. I train people, and I can figure out a formula when working with you for a little bit. But I think what people have to understand is you have to learn your body. I know my body. I've researched my body on a regular basis. So once you do that, it's easy to put it in. It's like driving somebody else's car. Like if you have a car that's a little older, a little rusted out, or anything like that, you know that if you put the key in, you gotta keep it in just a little bit, and then you turn it really hard. You know the little tweaks to it, and that's the same thing you do with your body. Like my body is not the same as anybody else's body in here, so I can't tell you how to train unless I train with you. So one thing that I know with my body is I know what fuel to put in as far as what to eat and everything like that. I cut out meat in my diet a long time ago because meat's made me real sluggish, and it almost gives me like an allergic reaction in the inside. I think so often people run around with, okay, if you have your car and that little check engine light comes on, people rush to go get it fixed. In their body, that check engine light comes on and people don't give a shit about. And that's the one thing that I keep my body, like I pay more attention to that than in my car. So what I do is I constantly make tweaks to my body and tweaks to my workout until I figure out the right way and the right process. And now it's just easy for me. I can go and work out for 30 minutes and get more benefit than somebody standing in the gym for 2 hours. I know what to do with my body, I know how to do it, and I know how to get the maximum results. If I'm fighting, I want to be around 240. If I'm wrestling, I want to be about 250. So that's a 10-pound swing, and nothing changes but my workout.
Yep. If you could face any wrestler from any promotion across any time period, who would it be and why?
Kurt Angle.
There's that. You are just set on Kurt Angle.
I think that's gonna be probably one of the biggest ones of my career. But you know, there's a couple other ones that I think will be really, really cool. Brock. Brock is a big one. There's so many people that always talk it, and I don't care if it's a fight. I don't care if it's a pro wrestling match. I don't care if it's a friggin' chess match. Me and Brock have to get in front of each other and let the crowd see it. Because you know what the crazy thing about it? I get so many people that kind of like pair us to Bobby and Brock, or like I was getting called like the Black Lesnar and all kinds of stuff before. And you know what? I've never met Brock. Never came face to face Brock at all.
It's heavily rumored again.
Yeah.
It's getting up there again.
Yeah,
Everyone's talking about it.
Because Brock is like destroying people, and like I'm getting tweets all the time. Well, I like Bobby better because at least Bobby goes to the shows all the time. And Brock only comes every once in a while. I'm like, because Brock doesn't have to. If I can get paid what he has to do, I wouldn't do it either. I'd just bitch on the internet about me and collect my paycheck. But I think it would be great if it were to happen sometimes. And you know what? I think that's the problem with the wrestling business. Is the wrestling business sometimes in the wrestling business we don't give a shit about what the fans want, and that's where we're kind of like spitting in the face of the fans. The fans are wanting a lot of different things, and we just don't give it to them. Oh. And sometimes it's okay to not give it to them and make them wait for it. But there's a point where you're waiting so long that the fans are like, all right, fuck it, you guys aren't giving it to us, so we don't care anymore. They've been saying this thing for me and Brock for the past 10 years or so, and nobody's taking the time saying, well, let's put Bobby and Brock together. But one person is Paul Heyman. Mm-hmm. Paul Heyman said it, and he's texted me several times about it, but for some reason it may not happen. I know Dixie Carter will be up for it. So we'll see in April. Maybe it happens.
Well, finally, what does the future hold for Bobby Lashley?
The one goal that I want to have is I want to be able to hold 2 titles. I have a contract right now and I just went and talked to the people from Bellator. It's a trickier situation now because TNA is not on Spike anymore, so the relationship isn't as good as it was before. So being able to juggle fighting and wrestling might be a little more challenging. But I have the contract sitting right now, and I'm going to sit down with the TNA people and see if we can like fuse the two together. They're willing to work, so I want to make sure both are willing to work. And if so, I want to have the Bellator title, and I want to have the TNA title, and I want to have it this year. I'm not getting any younger, so this year is the year to do it.
Well, thank you very much once again. It's been a genuine pleasure. Thank you.